to talk about safety because I don't want you all to get hurt. It's very important to keep safety in mind in regards to this project. So if you look on your materials list, you notice that I have asked for an X-Acto knife or suggested you use an X-Acto knife. And I've also suggested that you use a hot glue gun. So I'm going to speak specifically about those two things, but also remember that we are using things like scissors, and it's important for you to be safe using scissors as well. I have had people that have had accidents with scissors in the past. So be very careful when you're working with tools like this. It's just very important to keep safety in mind. So find you a place where you are not distracted. I'm going to suggest some things for you to use in regards to just not cutting into your table or getting hot glue on your table or desk or anywhere for that matter other than on a piece of paper. And keep these things in mind when you're working because they are very important and you don't want to cause problems with your parents or hurt yourself more importantly. Okay, so what I am going to show you first is using the X-Acto knife. And what I would suggest is getting a mat like this. I have these in my classroom, but at your house, you're going to need a mat or something. Be very careful and conscious about what you're cutting on. For example, this is my dining room table. I would not want to cut on that dining room table. That would ruin it and upset my wife very much. So we don't want to do that. So if you can't find a mat like this, that's understandable. Find something, get some cardboard, get something that you can cut using your X-Acto knife on and not mess it up. That's a very, very important thing to remember. Regarding using your X-Acto knife, I want you to keep this in mind. Oftentimes when we're cutting things, we're using our hand to hold it down, etc. Always cut away from your hand. So let's say that I'm making some cuts at different angles and they're going different ways, right? So let's watch me. Now this styrofoam tray is pretty easy to cut on. It's very soft. So I'm going and cutting away from my hand. And if I have an angle that I'm coming this way, I don't just cut like awkwardly that way. You can move your tray around and again make that second cut away from your hand as well. Let's say we were wanting to come back to this point. Keep your hand out of the way, move your hand, position your tray out of the way. And then there you go. And you have your piece here. You've got to go back and clean up a few areas. Again, do it away from your hand. Let's say that you have cardboard like this right here. Do those same things. I want you to cut away from your hand, but also it's a good idea to use straight edges or templates for a lot of these cuts as well, as much as you can. And again, cut away from your hand. But a good idea for cardboard like this, because it is so tough and it's going to be a lot harder to cut through than that styrofoam, is to score your cut first. So just don't try to cut through the whole thing at one time. Score it. Now go back and make your second cut. You might even could do 3 cuts if you need it, but this one didn't need it. So look, that one cut all the way through it, but I didn't try to cut all the way through it all at one time. Okay, and the last thing that I am wanting to talk about is using a hot glue gun, because again, that was suggested. It does come in handy, especially with cardboard and thicker material. Styrofoam actually might not be the greatest idea. You might want to just test it out, but it could melt the styrofoam as well, and that's not good. So some things to keep in mind regarding the hot glue gun is that when you plug it in, it gets hot quick. I plugged it in no less than a minute ago, and I touched the tip before I cut the camera on, and it was already hot. So be careful. Do not touch the tip there. See, I'm not touching it. I'm just pointing to it and showing you where it is. Be very careful. These hot glue guns have stands, so you can sit them like that. And there's a reason for that. They don't want you laying them down on things. So again, be very careful with that. Notice also that I have something here on the table. This is just a piece of paper. It'd be a good idea to have like some cardstock, or what I do in the classroom is I actually have a designated area, and I have multiple pieces of paper taped together. So, it's a nice larger space. This is pretty tight here, but this would work. Just be real careful. And this is for when you're using your glue. If things drip, and get on, you're not going to be perfect with it. No one is. That helps keep it off of things like this table. You don't want to get it on furniture or your carpet even, so be very careful. Again, don't be distracted and keep it over this paper. See how even though I let go of the trigger there, it still was leaking for a little while. So that's just the way glue guns work. And then when you're done with it, unplug it. And then make sure to unplug it. Make sure you do that. So for this project, do you have to use an X-Acto knife? Do you have to use a glue gun? The answer to that is no. So students have used scissors. They have used regular glue sticks in the past. Feel free to do that. If you are concerned or just don't have the right setup for this, then use that. Tape will work as well. Just remember that if you are using the X-Acto knife, scissors, hot glue guns, remember to keep safety in mind. Safety, safety, safety. Make sure that you keep all of those things in mind as you go through this, the Balloon Rocket Racer challenge and any other STEM build challenge. Concepts of safety apply. When you're using any tool, it's extremely important to be responsible and to think about safety and keep that in mind. Something as simple as a fork can be unsafe if not used properly. Make sure you're not distracted. Make sure you're practicing these safety tips that I'm sharing with you. And remember to have fun, and I look forward to seeing what you all come up with.